This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Purdy Insurance. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Half hour being brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, light, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. They take care of all your insurance needs. And they have, and we have multiple insurance needs. They take care of all of them. They organize them. They make sure you're fully insured. They do everything they can to save you money. There are times you can go over state lines and you can get a better insurance rate for the same coverage. They work at all of this. They know it. They'll update your policies. They're not just saying, hey, let's take number 12 here. Okay, 12's done. Moved on to the next one. No, they, when you're with them, they are constantly in your corner. It is Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. There is no need on this show on Tuesdays for any sort of supplemental draft. We always have the incomparable Neal Coolong, sir. Welcome.
As always, it is my pleasure to be here. Supplemental draft season is a long-standing tradition with you and I know that. Trivia question.
Yes.
Can you name the amount of players taken in the last 10 supplemental drafts?
I want to say...
I may or may not be right.
I want to say one. And I want to say two. I would say two.
Two is my guess as well. And I'm thinking now maybe that one tackle, Gaither, that might have been it might have been earlier than 10 years. I'm not sure, but certainly not many of them.
Right.
It's an event. It's like the one event on the NFL calendar that doesn't have a set date or some type of broadcast scheduled around it. They don't even know when it's going to be yet. It'll be sometime in July. Usually what they say. The
one part that is actually set in stone is June 22nd. That is the date, the last date to enter it. They haven't had anybody taken in the supplemental draft since 2019. So when you've talked to people... Now, look, I saw Sorsby play twice. I announced 2 games that Sorsby played in when he was at Indiana. He came off the bench, fourth quarter, did a few things in 2022, which has been the big year in question. And then 23, he played a game in Beaver Stadium where he played a lot because he had to come off the bench in the first half when Michael Penix got hurt. But that's been it. What, if anything, do the people you talk to think about him as a pro prospect as a quarterback?
Two things are really what I hear about him is, one, they like his tools, they like the skill set that's there, but the big thing is a draft-eligible player, if he didn't do enough this year to enter this draft, you have to wonder about his reasons exactly. That leads you into the fact that next year, and I know we say this every year, but next year is supposed to be a really good quarterback class. Why did he actively choose to go into that class as opposed to jump up a little bit and go into this one? Seems to me like he probably is a round 3, round 4 kind of prospect where he sits right now anyway, in a vacuum. Let's ignore... I can't even wrap my head around the amount of stuff that he has to do at this point to see the field again. Talent-wise, you heard about him. Teams, including the Steelers, were interested in him. He doesn't go out. You have to wonder how much of that is NIL-related. Can you get a better opportunity somewhere else? If you're not kind of projected to be a top 3 to 5 guy, I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to stay in college another year anyway, even if it is going to create kind of this boom and bust fluctuation from year to year as far as the prospects are concerned, because they're going to load up into one class, which would mean the next class probably is devoid of prospects at that position. So he's not a guy that you're talking about putting in the top 5, but he's certainly somebody that scouts are watching. From what I have heard, I really did not spend a whole lot of time looking at him. What I have heard from people that I trust, they feel probably a mid-round guy, probably better off going back for a year, even if he's going to have to compete. He could get into round 2 next year, but so much of it depends on the development and the financial decisions made by the rest of the NFL. As far as, what opportunities are going to be open up next year, you don't know. You have no idea what's going to happen. So with that, he's not a guy of consequence at this point. Certainly, though, the most anticipated potential supplemental draft pick that we have seen. That said, I think teams would go bargain shopping, and more teams nowadays, and this is why that 10-year window that I mentioned before is so important. Yeah. More teams nowadays are willing to compete on the open market for an undrafted free agent than they are to use draft capital to take a guy. And nowhere else is that more apparent than the supplemental draft. Right. So a guy like Sorsby, I don't think anybody would take him because they would love the opportunity to sign him if they had the need to do it, not pay him a guaranteed amount in that sense, but still give him, $300,000 guaranteed to be on the practice squad. It very well could happen. But I think the Steelers, but teams really don't want to have to develop 2 quarterbacks at the same time, especially when neither of them are starting. So I think it's too late for Sorsby this year. But I don't know what other options he's going to have. It seems tough to me to think that the NCAA would let him come back and play college football again. He may not have a choice. Maybe somebody takes a late round flyer on him, but I don't see them doing that. I don't think he'd be taken.
Well, this is how I look at him. All right, he still has the lawsuit that is hanging over his head from Cincinnati for the exit fee to go to Texas Tech. A year ago, but let's go 15 months ago, you and I would have said 2026 probably could be a deep quarterback draft. It then turned out to be a thin quarterback draft, and he could have had himself better positioned in all this. He obviously doesn't think he's ready, just like Trinidad Chambliss. I mean, he had to go to court to get an extra year at Ole Miss, and Mel is saying he's the third-rated quarterback in the draft. Well, if he's the third-rated quarterback in the draft, why isn't he in the draft? Even he doesn't think he's the third-rated quarterback in the draft. See, that's what tells me about these guys. They're smart enough to actually know we're like, nah, I don't think so. And that's where he is right now. This is not Bernie Kosar when the Browns sat there in the first round of the supplemental draft and said, that is our guy.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you on all of that. It goes to show they will take the money in college for a year to keep their future options open. And a guy like Chambliss going as far as he did to stay in college, I think is hilarious. I'm sure parents around the world thought about that. Yeah. Can't get their kid into the real world. Yeah. In that sense, he's a good player. I'm sure he was, very likely would have made, I don't want to say comparable money, but if you're talking an early second-round pick, which I feel was kind of more the consensus of what Chambliss likely would have heard from teams, even in this draft. Maybe that's debatable. Maybe he goes in the late 20s. He's willing to take his chances, go back to school, have another dominant year because he's just coming off a great year. And before that, no one really knew who he was. So he's looking to cash in on the idea that he can be worth more over one season, boost his stock up before getting to college. So it's a matter of when you're getting your money. And you can argue both sides of it. But I do think more tape will help him. I do think he is a guy with legitimate first-round tools. It's a risk, I don't think he's a top 10 guy, but I think he could go mid to late teens, which would be probably substantially higher than where he would have been if he entered this draft. But the key thing it comes down to is how much they're getting and their reasons to stay, and how long are they willing to delay what would be, if all things work out well, getting that first big extension, which is where the real money is, certainly for a quarterback. You don't even have to succeed as a quarterback to get a pretty nice second contract. We'll continue to see that in the NFL. But with either one of them, it's a matter of what you've put down and what you can see. And most guys were content on grabbing one in the air versus two in the bush, because they weren't, theoretically, they weren't getting anything otherwise, nothing legal at least. Now they can make a lot of money, hang out in a very insulated, very comfortable environment. The kid in Oregon is a great example of that as well. He probably would have been top 10, top 15 level of pick. He's going to make a lot of money to be in Oregon, possibly compete for a national championship, and not have the fishbowl mentality of, say, New York with the Jets, where he'd be thrown in right away into a real difficult position. All of that, I think, creates more of an attraction to stay in college unless you have to leave, assuming the money is there. Because let's be honest, the money's going to be there if it's going to be there in the NFL for you. So I feel like there's more incentive for them to stay than there used to be. But all this stuff, it's interesting to talk about now. I think we're really going to see how that plays out over the next 3 years, with the center point for me being the idea that this quarterback class is going to be great or this one's going to be terrible.
Right. Yeah.
We cannot predict that anymore. We just can't. And last year is a perfect example of it. I told every Steelers fan within shouting distance how you can't go out and say the 2026 class is full of quarterbacks, so it's okay that the Steelers don't do anything for a quarterback this year. And look what happened.
Right.
But what do they say in response to that? Well, the 2027 class is going to be great. We're going to keep kicking the can down the road. It's not that it's going to be bad.
Right.
It's just that we don't know.
Right.
You aren't understanding how much money they're getting to stay in school. Okay, they can make a lot and not have to go to the NFL. If they want that there, up front right now, taking the one in the air versus two in the bush, it's not a bad idea, in my opinion. If you're going to get the money anyway, like Dante Moore, why not wait a year? The quarterback market isn't getting short on dollars in the NFL. It's one more year. That's maybe one more extension that you get to top when your time is up to get a contract. So to me, it would make more sense to stay.
All right, so let's get to Aaron Rodgers. He does re-sign one-year deal. It's not unexpected that he did that. He reunites with Mike McCarthy. Fine. Now, this is something where I've had a couple of fans say to me, well, having him there kind of like slows down the development of the other quarterbacks. If Mike McCarthy thinks the two kids are outperforming Rodgers, he will play the other quarterbacks. Okay. They don't sit there and go, I think it'd just be better off we just tie one hand behind our back and give the other team a chance. We'll play the guy that's not playing the best. So what's your thought on Rodgers coming back?
It's really kind of a double negative. I mean, you don't get the opportunity to develop a quarterback in the NFL. The quarterback is doing a lot of that on his own. Much was made recently out of a tweet that went out that they were breaking Drew Aller down from a mechanical level, showing him how to do this and that and the other thing. I wasn't there. I have not spoken to Mike McCarthy before, but I guarantee you they're not doing it the way that tweet came across to a lot of people.
Right.
He's a professional. Coaches at the professional level are schematic. They're execution-based. They are not fundamental teachers in that regard. There's not enough time. I understand that that there was a time where that was the case. Chuck Noll, John Wooden was the coach that his first practice every year was having guys tie their shoes and put their shorts on correctly. It was all about fundamentals and coaching. That was college, okay? They have to teach those things. They're at a much lower level. In the pros, just in the last 20 years, they've cut the amount of time at camp down 40%. They're rarely in pads anymore. They need to be able to do these things without an NFL head coach sitting down with them day to day, teach them how to throw a football. If he wasn't capable of doing that, or at the very least, they trust that he can take the program they're giving him, go hire a coach, and go out, find a high school field somewhere and spend your summer doing that. That's the expectation. So you can't really develop guys so much as you're going. What they do is sit them down in film and show them what this looks like, what this decision means, understanding the entire offense. That's what they need to learn. If he can't throw a ball, you're in trouble. If he doesn't know how to do that yet or doesn't have the ability to grow into that, you're in trouble. But I would point out for everybody that's yelling at me right now, he was a third-round pick. He wasn't the 5th overall pick of the draft, okay? There is obvious work he's going to have to put in. We get that. Aaron Rodgers was brought in because they had at the point that it was, I think, pretty clear that Rodgers was going to come back. They had one NFL quarterback who has started and didn't do particularly well. You have another who was not drafted to start. I don't think Mike McCarthy in his first week of the job is going to talk about how terrible last year's 6th-round pick is. He's not going out of his way to praise Will Howard because he thinks he's a legitimate option and a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. It's just simply not the case. If you don't believe me, why do they draft Drew Aller in the 3rd round? Okay, so you just took somebody at a much higher cost than the guy that you had last year, the one that, when asked, McCarthy was effusive with his praise. So they're developing them in the sense that Rodgers is being prepared to start. Pay attention. You're expected to know these things as backups as well. My guess is between Howard and Rudolph, one of them isn't going to be there. I think that's fairly obvious.
Yes.
And having a veteran backup would probably be a better idea. Do you count Howard in that as a veteran? I don't know. We'll see. But to say that they're sitting down and developing all of them is not really accurate. They're showing them what the playbook is. They're answering questions. Obviously, they're working with them when they can. But Rodgers is the starter. He's getting 95% of the reps. So 5% of what's left goes to what? Between the two of them? And that's what they're going to develop on? They have to do it on their own. It's up to them what they want to do with it. But pedigree always wins out, and Aller's a 3rd-round pick. They're not going to cut him. So whatever development Will Howard is going to do, he got it last year, and he's going to have to show in camp. He's a better option to keep around than the more expensive Rudolph is.
Well, and here's the other part, too. You're an NFL coaching staff. What's your job? Your job is not to sit there and develop guys for next year, because in this league, you may not be there next year.
You might not be there.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, we're going to say the Vancouver Canucks, it's an NHL deal, but the Vancouver Canucks, after 1 year, fired their coach today. Well, guess what? That happens in the NFL as well. Your job is to win this week. And then when you do that, you're like, okay, now we got to win next week. I mean, that's your job in the league. It's not your job to go, okay, now we're going to work it in such a way we're going to develop this guy. Well, come on, cut me a break. That's what the offseason's for.
We're really excited about where he's going to be in year 2 and year 3. Well, not with a 3rd-round pick. That's your coach is not. Your coach is expected to have the schematic setup for the quarterback to be successful. Yes. They're expected to manage the team in such a way that they're going to win consistently. Yep. They are not there, contrary to popular opinion, in all of Mike McCarthy's quarterback success that goes back 15 years ago, since the last time he had to, quote-unquote, develop a quarterback. He's not linked to them in that way. Does the offense work for the player who's there? Has the player improved? Has he taken it upon himself as a professional to do these things? He's not in college anymore. It's less coach, it's more manager. I've had conversations with people about that. The baseball manager makes far more sense as a title than a football coach does. Yeah. They want the old imagery of the gridiron and the glasses on the field and screaming and yelling at players and everything like that. But that's not how it works. They're watching film. They're writing stuff up. They're not showing guys how to throw footballs, okay? They're pros. That's just not how it works at the NFL level. Doesn't mean they don't offer some things up. But minicamp, for example, the rookie minicamp, they're showing them what to work on to be prepared for training camp.
Yes.
It's not pure evaluation. They're not deciding who's going to start based on football and shorts, which you and I both know we're in that season now. It's coming up now.
Yeah, it is. And look, in college, it's different, right? You do work with everybody, and you try to show them certain things. In the pros, you don't have this kind of time. I mean, it's yes, you have the same kind of time as you do in college, week to week, but you have 15 spring practices to work on that stuff. Where are the 15 spring practices when it comes to the NFL? The union's not going to allow that. And look, these coaches every player's battling for their job. Right? Every coaching staff is battling for its job. Okay? They're not sitting there going, hey, I'll tell you right now, when we get to year 4 with that guy, he's going to be pretty good. You're not going to be there in year 4 if you're waiting.
Drew Aller is going to take home from the Steelers gross probably around $3 million this year.
Yep.
That might be a step down from what he got at Penn State, but they're compensating him plenty. They're not going to now teach him the basic fundamentals of his job. They're just going to get rid of him if he can't do it.
Right.
That's really what it is.
Yes.
That's a cold reality for every reason you just said. They don't have the time to go over it. All of those quarterbacks have private quarterback coaches. That's who works with them.
They do.
On the fundamentals.
That's right.
McCarthy will give them what to work on, what they do. It's not, well, we look at him and his arm isn't at this angle. We want you to improve that. It's more like these are the situations that we throw this in. Have him ready for that. Yeah. And he shows up. If he can do it, great. Maybe he moves on. If he can't, probably buried. They get rid of him when he's no longer valuable.
Yeah, and by the way, Drew's personal quarterback coach works in California. So, and he's had that guy for a while. Hey, as always, my good friend, best in the business. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me, guys.
The great Neal Coolong, brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
An in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Online, sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory, great pre-owned inventory with the all-important Sunbury Motors guarantee to go over every vehicle on the lot, and a terrific service department, quick lane inspections, routine, difficult, they handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. All right, so I'm sitting here yesterday, and I thought, geez, I haven't talked about wheels. It's been way too long. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Chris Wheeler returns. Sir, welcome.
There you are. I was having a little trouble hearing you.
Oh, that's okay. Can you hear me now?
I got you. Yeah, you hit some button and it worked.
That's what we do. What's great is we have other people that hit buttons, and we sit there going, I don't know.
Hey, I know people wanted to mute me for a lot of years, so I thought you were muting me.
What bothers me is I've had broadcast partners that wanted to mute me.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah. So, first of all, the most important thing, how you been?
Good. I enjoy my time down here. I'm lucky enough to be able to have a really cool place down here and enjoy it. Renee came down for a couple visits. Spring training was great. A few things that are a little different this year. Everything's fine, by the way, but I'm going to go home a little bit early this year. So I'll be back in Bluebell by the end of the month.
That's what he'll send me an email or a text, and he'll sign it, Chris from Bluebell.
That's it. That's me. That's me, Chris or Wheels from Bluebell. Yeah, and Steve from Lemoyne. That's how we work.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so you and I have been through this at our respective jobs when coaches are changed or managers are changed. And look, 9 times out of 10, the new guy doesn't come in and change a lot. Now, I thought Terry Smith changed a few things as to what he did. But usually it's the players look around at each other and go, we better get on our tail and start moving here. And I feel like as fine a job as Don Mattingly has done, I kind of get that feeling that the Phillies kind of looked inward and said, like, Rob's not here because we didn't do well enough.
Well, you hope that's what happens. I've been around enough baseball players in my life that they get a manager fired and then they don't care. We'll move on to another guy. Well, I don't think that was the case in Rob Thompson's case. I think they genuinely liked him and respected him and realized what he had done, but also understand that there comes a point when you're 9-19 with that payroll and that roster that they have, that something has to be done. Well, you don't fire the front office and you don't fire the players, so the manager has to go. He got Don Mattingly's done a really good job. He walked into a good situation with players, and he also walked into a situation where the Phillies had just played the Braves and the Cubs for 2 weeks, back and forth, home and away. Two of the hottest teams in baseball, leading the divisions. So they picked a bad time to play those two hot teams when they weren't playing very well. The schedule immediately got better, and to their credit, they picked it up, and they somehow were able to go over 500 after being 10 under 500. And they're playing right now, and they're trying to take a series from the Cincinnati Reds. So Rob Thompson was a great guy. I got to know him well. He was very respectful of me for what I had done with the Phillies, and I really enjoyed being around the man, but I know he understands that that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and that is the way it goes. You've been around some of the best pitchers the game has seen, and that includes guys that were in the Phillies. What does it mean to a clubhouse when somebody the caliber of Zach Wheeler returns, and not only returns but looks good doing it?
Well, I think that second part really is important. Obviously, to have Zach Wheeler back would have been a big thing, just to have him around, because he's a great man in that clubhouse, evidently. But to have him come off what he went through last year and rehab himself and work the way that he did, and then come back and throw pretty well in his rehabs, and then a little better when he started back in the big leagues, but now picking it up to the point where they're saying he's looking a little bit like himself. I think he turns 36 this week, so he's not like he's a young guy, but he has been unbelievable, and it stabilized the rotation because Sanchez is really good, and he was struggling a little bit. Luzardo's really good. He was struggling a little bit. They had to move Taijuan Walker, which they finally were able to do. Aaron Nola is just having his problems because he just may be out of bullets right now in some ways. Yeah. And Painter's got a chance to be pretty good. So the rotation got so much better and deeper when a Zach Wheeler came back, and I think just having the feeling of the winner that he is and being around him, it had to help the whole ball club.
And there is a reality, at least to me. There is a difference between a 1 and a 2. There's a reason why the 1 gets the first game of the playoffs. And some guys are mentally more comfortable being a 2. Mentally more comfortable being a 3. Is that a fact in your mind?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we went through that in the playoffs last year. They did okay. I mean, they battled the Dodgers, and the Dodgers were the best team, obviously, and proved it at the end by getting by Toronto the way they did in the World Series. Phillies gave them a great series. Would it have been a better series if Zach Wheeler pitched game 1? I don't know. You'd thought that they had a heck of a chance to win it, even though they almost did win it. But yeah, having that guy to go into a postseason and to get you through a season and stabilize things is so important. And he's just really good. He's reinvented himself over the years. And he used to just be a straight guy, throw fastballs and swing and miss and a slider and all that. Now he has split, slurve, what do they call that thing now? Sweeper.
Yeah.
You and I called it a curveball forever, but he has all those pitches now.
I may start doing that on the Spikes broadcast. Every time I see a curveball, I may just call it a sweeper. You know what I love about this is that they keep coming up with different terms for something. And this is what I always told my broadcasting classes when I was teaching. I always told them, I said, use terms and language that the fans understand. I said, you're talking to them. It's a sweeper. Like okay, what's a sweeper? If I say curveball, I think everybody knows what a curveball is, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Nowadays, the kids would be able to use the term sweeper the way you're teaching them, because it's become so much a part of the vernacular of the game that as launch angle has become, and some of that other nonsense that used to say, well, if I knew what a launch angle was, or velocity off the bat, you could tell it was hit hard, you could hear it. But there's so many things nowadays that are part of sports that I didn't have to do a whole lot of that stuff, but the stuff that was coming along, I always tried to make sure I didn't sound like some old man and a dinosaur and those kind of things. And I know you feel the same way, but it is annoying when you see a curveball and now they have to call it a sweeper.
Right. Oh, and this is a couple of years ago. Neal Cruz of the Pirates hit a home run, and it was a line drive that cleared the fence. And they're like, it went out at 121 miles an hour. I don't care if it goes 90. I don't care if it goes 96. If it's over the fence, it's a home run. It's like,
you love baseball, and you've done a lot of baseball, and it makes a certain sound. The pitcher knows it. We know it. A lot of the fans know it, so they want to give you a launch angle. I'll give you a real quick story about our buddy Boa.
Yeah.
So a number of years ago, he's in the new general manager's box at the time. I think it was Matt Klentak, and then new people, and all the analytics were going on. Him and Charlie are sitting in their manual. And one of our guys, I think it was Franco, who, he kind of blew out after a few years. But anyway, he hits a high fly ball to right center field, and the guy catches it like in front of the warning track or something. So in the back of the booth, he hears, boy, how about that? The launch angle was so... And they say, Bo, what do you think? Bo says, I think it was an F8.
I'm sorry. It's an out.
That didn't go over real well.
No, because I was doing a game once, and a guy hit a foul ball, and it went off the bat at 108. Because we have that stuff in the booth. Right? And somebody says, 108. I said, yes, strike two.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, he hit a high fly ball, and it was an out. Anyway, look, we all have to move on from all this stuff. And it's all part of the new vernacular, and I know you, like you said, you're doing it in baseball, and I know you have to have it in football, too. There's a lot more stuff you didn't use before. But it does get a little annoying sometimes.
I haven't really changed what I do. Like in basketball, I'll use some more analytics, such as I think points per possession tells you a story. I think percentage of points from 2, 3, and 1 tells you how a team plays. Things like that. So I'll look at that. But other than that, I haven't really changed too much.
You know what? I just kind of threw that out there because, I listen to you all the time, and you haven't changed, and you shouldn't.
No, I mean, that's why, if you were still doing this, I know that there'd be a couple little things you would do, but you would still do the game the same way, because to me, it's still about feel and not about just numbers. Numbers tell some stories, but if you have a feel for the game as to why they're doing something, okay, right? I mean, that tells a bigger story to me.
Amen to that. And, to have a feel for your business when you're in it, not only when you're on the air, when you're off the air, how you act in the clubhouse, all those kind of things when you're around people.
Yep.
I think that's all a part of it. I've always felt that feel is a huge part of doing what I did for a long time and what you do. And you can tell the ones that have it, and you can tell the ones that don't when you're around them.
There's no question about that. And why is it that you could talk to Larry Boa as easily as you talk to Charlie Manuel and so forth? Because they understood that you knew. Right? And that's a bit to see. And when you're around people that look, this is the attitude I've always taken. I think I know a lot about football, but I don't know as much as Matt Campbell. I think I know a lot about basketball, but I don't know as much as Mike Rhodes. And I walk in with that instant respect anyway. Now it comes to broadcasting, I'm going to assume I know more than they do. So.
Right. But when you're around professional players, they don't feel that way.
Oh, not in the least. No. You're trying to get me. Like, I'm trying to get you? I'm trying to get you?
Hey, look, one of the things that those guys told me from day one, the guys I became so close with, like Lazinski and Bo and Tim McCarver and those kind of guys, and Book, they said you ask a lot of questions without being a pain in the butt about them. He said they would tell me, he said, you wanted to learn. You wanted to ask us about things, and you didn't come in thinking you knew everything. Yes. And I said, well, I didn't know that I did that, but that's just my nature anyway, because I ask a lot of questions because I try to learn things. And they said that was one of the main reasons that they kind of took to me right away. And then, of course, we became friends for so long. But I always found that was kind of interesting when they told me that.
But that's a fact. I mean, in other words, I respect you enough and your knowledge of something that I will ask you questions because I'm trying to be better at what I'm doing, understanding what your perspective is and why. I mean, that can only help the listener or the viewer when that happens. Now, I do have to give you the opportunity to now ask questions that you actually feel are exponentially more important than the ones I just asked you.
Well, it's all about me, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The day that happens, I'll fall down when it's all about you, because that is 180 in what you are.
Thank you. Mutual Admiration Society as far as that goes. Well, look, real quick, because I know we don't have a lot of time. All I want to know, I don't have a lot of specific stuff, but you've been through a camp now, and not a blue-white game, but whatever they did. Tell me about Matt Campbell, his staff, the way he's recruited, the way he's brought players in so far, and what do you think about the way people have bought into it?
Well, I'll start with the last part, the buy-in. Part of what he tried to do during the course of the spring was to bring everybody together. It's not the Iowa State part of the locker room. It's not the Penn State part of the locker room or the UCLA part, whatever. I think at the end of this spring practice, I think he left there with a Penn State football team. And I think you saw with Matt the conscious effort to bring in the letterman every week to tell them about the history of this program through their eyes. And that outreach meant a lot to the letterman. And then on Saturday mornings, before the team meeting at 8:30, he'd bring me up at the team meeting, and I'd sit down with 3 or 4 players from whatever era. Dave Robinson was one, along with Todd Blackledge, DJ Dozier. There was Kerry Collins, Kajana Carter, Kyle Brady. I mean, we did this all the way up through to the 20 teens. And Matt was talking about this, and away from everybody, because he talked to me a little bit about it. And he said, you know what? He said, in defeat, I would look at, he said, why is Curt Cignetti choked up and almost crying on the field after Indiana beat Penn State? He said, why is it that the Michigan coaches cried on the field after they beat Penn State? He said, why is it that Ryan Day gets choked up when they win a game at Beaver Stadium? Now, those are bad moments for Penn State, but it tells you what it means to other teams because of what Penn State has meant, and he wants to make sure that it continues to be where they understand how great the program has been, and that they're actually carrying on a legacy where there's a reason why Penn State has a target on it and other programs don't. And I think that, they did a great job of conveying it. Andrew Rapplier had the best one. Okay? And Rapp is the tight end for the uninitiated. I just want to make sure the fans knew that. I know you know. And he comes up to me and he says, I got to tell you, Mr. Jones. He says, they go out to do that first team meeting thing. And you're up there. I'm like, oh, brother, here we go. This will be 30 minutes of my life I'm never getting back. He says, I want to tell you right now, that was pretty cool.
That's well stated. That says a lot for a grown man, and he's a grown man at this point to say something like that. But that's pretty cool, and I totally agree with you about the way you see those guys get the way they see those guys get choked up. Happened after the Oregon game too. You see that. The way that the coaches feel that way, and it's a big deal to come in and beat Penn State, especially in that environment of a whiteout or a sellout crowd like Indiana that afternoon, and they play in that kind of emotion. So it makes a lot of sense. Oh,
it makes a lot of sense. And at the same time, there are going to be a couple places Penn State goes where you get a little choked up. I mean, for example, Penn State was able to win at the Coliseum in Los Angeles, coming from behind, winning in overtime. You don't think that Penn State locker room, it wasn't choked up? You're darn right they were. They were emotional because there's a certain places you go. I mean, you've been to the cathedrals of every sport out there, for goodness sakes. That just means a little bit more to go into Lambeau and win, means more to go to Notre Dame Stadium and win. Well, Beaver Stadium is one of those places. That's because Penn State's been so great, especially here. And, other people know that.
Yeah, well, you and I have talked about it before, but the idea that Matt Campbell came in and embraced our history and our culture, not trying to, reinvent the wheel or anything, but just go with it and make sure that the people around Penn State understand that he understands Penn State, and we'll go from there. Maybe we're not going to talk 4-star, 5-star, every recruit we bring in, which, as you know, can be so incredibly overrated sometimes. But to bring in football players that fit what they want to do and what the coaches want to do there, and go from there and see what happens. And everything I read and hear, I'm just very, very, very positive about the direction.
When you meet him personally, you're going to be impressed. I can guarantee you. You will be. He's down to earth. He's down to earth. He's just. I mean, that's a big part of him. Way too long. I mean, now that you're finally working your way back. Okay, this won't be the last time you're on the show between now and we go out and attempt to find my ball someplace. But I mean, we are going to get it set up.
We are going to make that work, and no doubt about it.
You are the greatest, and I mean that sincerely.
Thank you, Steve. I enjoy our time together, and I really look forward to seeing you this summer. It's been too long since we've been able to hang out.
Oh, way too long. And believe me, by the time the round's over, I'll probably tell you everything that's going on.
Well, that'll be one of those days that I hope we got slow people in front of us.
There we go. All right. Wheels, thanks so much. I asked him yesterday. He jumped on right away. Thanks so much, my friend.
Always a pleasure, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, Steve.
Half hour brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com on News Radio 1070 WKOK.